This is the Husqvarna Vitpilen 250. It is Husqvarna, KTM, Bajaj, call it what you will, same company. It's their take on what a modern day cafe racer should be like. So it's got this one-piece clip-on handlebar, it's got road bias tires, it's got a single piece seat a little high, and it's got some retro elements like the round mirrors, round instrumentation and the round headlamp. Now this motorcycle is based heavily on the Duke 250, so it's got the same engine, the same cycle parts, same suspension, same brakes, same power, same torque. You get the picture. So all of that. Now the Vitpilen also has a twin brother. It's called the Svartpilen 250. Now if the Vitpilen was a cafe racer, this is a modern day take on what a scrambler should be like. Now these motorcycles are essentially the same down to the body panels, but there are some differences. Now the Svartpilen gets a more upright single piece handlebar, it's got a two-piece seat, it's got some like a luggage carrier on the tank, it's got protection for the exhaust, and it's got different set of wheels that are shod with tires that are both on and off-road bias. Now we're going to focus on this motorcycle for two reasons. One, it is the more popular of the two, and two, since I'm not young or fit, the Vitpilen is just too much hard work. So let us take you through 5 things that work in the motorcycle's favor and 2 that don't. And don't worry, we're not completely ignoring the Vitpilen. It will make cameos throughout the film, and at the end or towards the end we'll also tell you which of the two should you buy, the Vitpilen or the Svartpilen. Now one of the strongest reasons to buy the Husqvarnas has to be its positioning and design. It's both young and fresh, completely unique, and it's all down to a simplistic but modernish design to it. So you've got this two-panel design where you've got one panel that runs from the tank to the side, and then you've got another panel that runs from the side to the tail. As we said at the start, you've got some retro design elements like the round mirrors, you've got the round headlamp, and the instrumentation. It's round, but it's neo-modern or neo-retro, so it's digital, and it's got all the data inside it. Now I don't know if you can see it or make out in the frame, but this is a tiny motorcycle, especially in the flesh. When you look at it, it looks small. So if you're tall, let's say 6 feet and above, maybe you'd want to see yourself on the bike before you buy one. But for everybody else, I mean, this is not a need sort of a motorcycle, it's a want thing. You want it, you want to show it off to people, you want to look at it, it makes you happy. So it's sort of a trophy, if you will. One of the other reasons that you'd want to buy the Husqvarna has to be the engine performance. Now this engine is something that we've tested, abused in the past. It's the same engine that you get on the KTM Duke 250. It's a single cylinder liquid cooled engine. The power output is around 30 horsepower, 24 Newton meters of torque. And this engine, it doesn't have a lot of purchase lower down in the rev range, but it's in the mid-range once you go past 6,000 RPM that it starts to come alive. And then when you go past 8,000, it's really on song. So if you tend to ride the motorcycle hard, I would say that you need to be careful, especially in the city, because it catches up with traffic in no time. So you have to be really careful about that. But lower down in the rev range, before it hits the mid-range, it can also feel like the throttle is a little slow because it just doesn't seem to pick up. But mid-range, top end, lovely performance, very addictive, very involving, very enjoyable. When it comes to fuel efficiency, both the Svartpilen and the Vitpilen returned a little over 30 kmpl. Add to it their relatively small fuel tanks of 9.5 litres, and you're looking at a range of a little under 300 kilometers between refills. Not the best for touring, agreed, but manageable nonetheless. Now we said at the start of the film that this is a want motorcycle, and part of that want comes from the fact that it has a lot of feel-good features. We've also said that this is heavily based on the KTM 250 Duke, but it is around 25,000 bucks cheaper. However, you don't lose any of the fancy bits that you get on the 250. So you've got the upside down 43 mm upside down forks. You've got cute looking handlebar brace here. You've got a carrier or a luggage rack on the tank, and you've got bits and pieces like dual channel ABS with Supermoto mode, where you can turn off the ABS on the rear wheel. You've got LED lighting throughout, headlamp, indicators, tail lamp, all of that. So, and oh yeah, since this is the Scrambler model, it also gets these knobby tires which add to the overall appeal of the motorcycle. So a lot of feel good features on the motorcycle, and for a much lesser price than the Duke. Now, we said that the Svartpilen is a light motorcycle, and that makes it very easy to live with. For instance, when it comes to putting it in the parking or outside, it's very easy to just push or pull it back in a parking lot. Also, the turning circle, very tight, so very easy to maneuver. And then if you find yourself in traffic and you don't want to use the engine power, again, very easy to pedal forward or backwards or forward. Now, if you are 5'9" or thereabouts and taller like I am, then it's easy. But if you're shorter, then this paddling through traffic could be a little difficult. Now, we did say that the Vitpilen 250 will make its cameo here and there in the film, and it's time for that. Now, compared to the Svartpilen, like we mentioned earlier, the Vitpilen has a low handlebar, and that means when you want to push it, you need to put in a little more back into it, and so it's not as comfortable to do. Also, the turning circle is wider on this motorcycle compared to the Svartpilen, and so chances are you have to do 3-point turns if you don't or if you're not comfortable with the side stand dance. What is the side stand dance? Pick it up and go. Change directions in a hurry. And even there, the Svartpilen is a lot easier because of the handlebar being higher. However, the clutch and throttle are light to operate on both the Vitpilen and the Svartpilen. Plus, the throttle isn't snappy, which again helps when it comes to city riding. And honestly, we didn't find the engine heat to be an issue either. And complementing the engine's performance and its easy to live with nature is the Svartpilen's light and agile handling. For starters, it weighs under 170 kgs, and it is also narrow, but with a wide enough handlebar to give the rider good leverage. It has a relatively sharp steering geometry, and the wheelbase at 1357 mm is anything but long. So when it comes to filtering through traffic, the Svartpilen is like a mind reader. You think and it intuitively just points in that direction. But here's the thing, it doesn't feel nervous or twitchy. It feels tight and well engineered, but never vague or heavy. And then, when you get to a winding road, the fun just continues unabated. A light push to the handlebar tips it in effortlessly. It stays true to its line when leaned over, with no weave or wallow to upset you. Plus, the rider knows exactly what the motorcycle is up to in a corner. As a result, it instills heaps of confidence to push that bit harder. The Vitpilen, with its low clip-ons and more road bias tires, is even more fun on a twisty road. Now, as far as brakes go for both motorcycles, good bite, good feel, but the progression needs to be better. There's also just too much play before the front brake begins to bite hard, and that can leave you with an aching right wrist in due course. And if you're wondering how the Svartpilen does off-road, it is a scrambler with on-off-road tires after all. Well, the short answer is not very well. Yes, you can jump it and slide it and ride it standing up, but on anything more serious than a gravel path or one with hard-packed dirt, the Svartpilen has an innate ability to get stuck. The low ground clearance and short suspension travel don't help either. Now, one of the biggest cons for the Husqvarnas has to be the vibrations. Now, we've never really enjoyed the way a KTM engine sounds, but on the Husqvarna, the vibrations apart from the noise, are even more pronounced. So even at idle, you can feel the vibrations on the handlebar, you can feel it in the tank, you can feel it in the carrier, you can feel it in the seat, even on the foot pegs. And then as you start revving it, not just when it's standing still, but even when it's running, the vibrations just keep on increasing as the revs rise. Now, this compared to the Vitpilen is still better. The Vitpilen, with its clip-on handlebars, the vibrations on those bars are really, really pronounced. The ride on the Svartpilen cannot be termed as comfortable. It feels stiff enough to slap your rear around at slower speeds or through road joints and square-edged bumps, but then when you get to an undulating road at 3-digit speeds, the rear tends to wallow before it settles down. So overall, it's not something that we would term as comfortable. The front works much better. It is better damped and better sprung, and even though it does crash into deep potholes or square-edged bumps, overall it doesn't batter your wrist or arms. So are the Husqvarnas sensible buys? We would think so, especially if you consider that these are easy to live with, they are cheaper than the KTM Duke 250, which is essentially the same motorcycle, and these are much lighter motorcycles and really good to look at. But you also have to consider that these are Vibey machines and the ride on these motorcycles is not very comfortable. So the question then is, which of the two should you buy? And that would be the Svartpilen 250. And I say that for 3 reasons. Primary of that has to be the seating ergos. Now, compared to the Cafe Racer, the Svartpilen has a higher handlebar, and that means it is more comfortable. I mean, the seating ergos are still a little racy. It's not completely upright, but it is way more comfortable than what you get in the Vitpilen. Plus, these taller handlebar also means that you can push and pull this motorcycle with a lot more ease than you can do the Cafe Racer. And then of course you've got these on-off road bias tires, and that means even though you're going to use this motorcycle mostly on the road, it gives you the option to go gravel travel if you choose to.